Hi everyone, Leah here from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another fun beading video for you. Before I get started, just a quick reminder to go check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell and you'll always know when we're posting new content. So today what I have for you is a fun little project that's fantastic for all skill levels. Now, even us advanced beaders may want something that's sort of stress-free and easy, and beginners will love this as well because, well, it's stress-free and easy, even for the beginner skill level. So today what I have to show you is a really simple woven bracelet. You could barely even say that it's woven really, but it is 2 strands and it is done with Fireline. And it's utilizing some beautiful Swarovski crystals, a couple different sizes of seed beads. We have crescent beads and these really beautiful 2-hole candy beads that I absolutely am in love with. It's such a simple bead, but when it comes in such gorgeous finishes, you really don't always need such a complex design or a complex looking bead to make a beautiful bracelet. And it's finished off nicely with a great little magnetic clasp. So that's what we have here. So this is the sample that I already made, kind of like in a rose gold mulberry type of color scheme with a copper rose gold colored clasp. And now what I have here is this color scheme. So we have kind of a turquoise and then an indicolite crystal 4mm bicone, and we have those 2-hole crescent beads. I have a size 15 seed bead. You can also see my magnetic clasp there as well. And then I have a gorgeous Toho size 8 seed bead, an absolutely stunning color, a matte dark green, blue, purpley color. It's gorgeous. And I have sort of a pearlescent satiny finish in a beautiful lime green color for that candy bead. And these are actually an 8mm candy bead. Okay, as far as Fireline, I'm using 6-pound Fireline here, and I have about a wingspan. You won't quite need that much, but this way you're not scrounging at the end when you want to weave in your tails here. And I'm just working with single thread, though I do have a tail pulled. And I have it waxed just to keep that tail stuck to the rest of my Fireline. And I'm using a size 12 needle. You could use a 10 if you'd like, but I'm just a size 12 sort of a gal, so that's what I'm using here. Okay, so to start off, let me just dump out a little bit of all my beads here. Okay, there we go. What I'm going to start off by doing is picking up a size 8 seed bead and then 3 15s, and I'll bring all of this up to the camera so you can see it. I'm going to go through my clasp, which is a little tough because my needle wants to stick to that magnetic clasp there. And then 3 more 15s. There we go. So that's what I have here. Okay, now I'm going to drag this all the way to the end of my Fireline, and you're going to want to leave a tail that's long enough for you to weave in after, or short enough for you to weave in after. Not everyone needs a long tail, but I usually leave about 2 inches or so I can comfortably weave it in later. And depending on the clasp you're using, your clasp may float over those 15s. It doesn't really matter. If it does that, that's fine. In this case, this is what's happening. The particular magnetic clasp I used on this bracelet, they did not float through the loop. So I did have to load on the 3 and then the clasp and then the 3. But in this case, I could actually have loaded on all 6 at once if I wanted to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through that size 8 seed bead, pull this all the way through here, and you will see that your clasp just nestles nicely in the group of 6 15s that we added there, just like that. Now I'm going to take my tail and my working thread and I'm going to tie them in a square knot, right over left, then left over right. Just like that. Now at this point, if I wanted to, my size 8 seed bead could certainly pull off, but that won't be able to happen once I just load on my next seed bead. So I'm going to start with a 4mm crystal now, and I'm going to pick up 3 15s. And the pattern here is going to be pretty easy. And that's what I love about this bracelet. It's a really easy pattern, just using really lovely beads. So that's what sort of makes it so lovely. Apparently everything is lovely today. So beautiful. Work on your synonyms, Leah, huh? All right, so that's what we got there. Okay, so the repeating pattern is going to be going through one of our candy beads. Now candy beads have the two holes that run parallel, and there is a top and a bottom to the candy bead. It's subtle, but you'll be able to tell. One side is flat, but it's a very soft flat edge, and the other side is domed up just a little bit. Not as much as a cabochon bead, but you will see that. Let me see. There we go. A little bit of a dome there. So we're gonna load on our candy bead, and then a 15, an 8, crystal, and then go through a crescent bead. Now the crescent beads do have, of course, a top and a bottom, so make sure that you're always going through them in the same direction. That way you establish the top of your bracelet and the bottom of your bracelet. So you can see what we're doing here is we're gonna string up all our beads, but going through the one hole of each two-hole bead along the same side. So to keep going with that, I'm gonna mirror what I just put on, which now means I pick up a crystal, seed bead, or a size 8 seed bead, and a size 15, and now I'm going to go through another of my candy beads, again making sure that I'm going through the correct hole so that way both of them sit with their tops facing up. And now all I'm going to do is just repeat that pattern. So right where I have this candy bead, if you look at the candy bead right before it, you can see the beads that we loaded on after that, and we're just going to keep repeating that. Okay, I'm going to give you one nice really good look. All right, and now we are going to meet back here in just a minute, and I will have the first part of the bracelet strung up. Be back in a minute. Okay, so what I have loaded here are all the beads for the length of the bracelet. And then at the end, I loaded on the same sequence as my beginning. So I have the 3 15s after the last candy bead. I have one of my 4mm bicone crystals. I have a size 8 seed bead, and I have my 6 size 15s. And again, depending on the clasp you're using, you may have to load on 3 15s, your clasp, and then the other 3 15s, depending on if that loop is going to float over them or not. So now I'm just going to head through the loop of my clasp here. And it's okay if you're not pulling everything super tight yet, that's fine. Once we start to go through the first few beads, that's gonna really pull it together. So now my needle is just gonna go through the size 8 and then the 4mm crystal. And now we can start to pull things. You can see there's a little bit of slack there. It's fine, we can just pull everything tight, get that clasp loop right in the middle of that little group of 15s. And if it's not crazy tight, that's okay. We're actually gonna be, after we do this next row, we're then gonna be going back through the whole thing, so it'll tighten up nicely. So now we're just gonna mirror what's on the other side here. So I'm gonna pick up 3 of my size 15s, and I'm gonna hold it in a way that hopefully encourages it to stay together and not loosen back up. Once I get a few more beads in, it'll really stay nicely. So you can see what do we get here? The other side. And then we're just going to hold the beads so that way we are exposing that second hole nice and easily for us. So it's just mirroring the other side. So I'm picking up a size 15, a size 8, and then a crystal. And then I'm going to go through the other loop of my crescent bead, and just be careful not to get yourself caught around the rest of your bracelet. And you see what we get there. And you'll see why this is a great project for a beginner. This is actually a wonderful first project for someone who's interested in getting into bead weaving or, making jewelry with a thread and needle. But at the same time, it's also just a really lovely, cute project too for any skill level if you like the look of it. All right, so I just picked up the rest of those beads there. And I'm just going to continue doing that down the bracelet, and I'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, so I've made it all the way down my bracelet here. And right now where I am is I'm exiting out of the very last candy bead. And I'm going to, just like I have been, pick up the mirror image of what's next to it. So that's going to be 3 15s. And then I'm going to go through my crystal and my size 8 seed bead. You can see how that gets us our nice little ending there. And then now really it's just about reinforcement. So I'm gonna go right through my little seed beaded loop here that's going through the loop of my clasp. Oops, don't get your tail caught in there like I just did. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to head all the way down one side here, all the way to the other side. I'm going to loop through the loop of the seed beaded loop here, and then go back down the other side, just so I can go ahead and reinforce it. And at that point, it's really just a matter of weaving out your thread, tying some half-hitch knots along the way, and also sticking a needle on that little tail from the beginning and weaving that in as well. And then your bracelet is done, and it's super adorable. You can make it in so many color schemes, and what's nice is that it's a project that doesn't use a lot of different types of beads. It's just a few different types of beads, and you get a beautiful little simple pattern. Again, great for all skill levels. If you have a friend that's kind of getting curious about this hobby you have, all of this beading that you're doing, and you want them to give it a shot, this would be a great project to start them off with it, because they'll definitely get a sense after making this whether it's something that they want to get into even further. And if they don't, well, it's still an easy enough project where they will at least end up with a beautiful little bracelet. So what we're going to do is I'm going to link you below to all of the colors that I used in this bracelet, as well as the other bracelet here, in case you like the color schemes. And we have a lot of different choices of these fun candy beads and the crescent beads on our website, EurekaCrystalBeads.com. So you'll have a great selection of colors. And I really love these candy beads because it's such a simple, lovely bead that lends itself to either a simple or an ornate design around it, but the finishes are just really beautiful. In this particular one, it's just so satiny. It's just going to be a really nice contrast to the crystal that's next to it. So I hope you all liked this video. Thank you for watching. And again, we'll link you to below to all of the materials I used, and we'll see you next time. Bye.